everyone, it's Canon Cate and it's lovely to be with you again. I haven't seen you for a couple of weeks, so it's nice to be able to share some time with you. You might wonder what I'm holding in front of me. You see this? I wonder if you can guess what it is. It's in fact 3 dolphins. One big one, one smaller one, and one baby one. Reminds me a little bit of the story of the 3 bears. If I turn it round, you may be able to see much more clearly that this is a dolphin. Would you believe this was carved by a gentleman out of one piece of wood, very, very carefully carved out of one piece of wood, not 3 pieces of wood stuck together, but one piece of wood. And it was presented to me when I visited a place a long way away from here. When I went to visit the Solomon Islands in Melanesia, and that's about 12,000 miles away. It's right the other side of the world. In fact, it's nearer to Australia and New Zealand. And I went on a visit there, and I went to visit some of the schools over there. And as a souvenir, they gave me this to remind them of my visit there. So, and you can see when you are travelling around the islands, and this was actually, I have to say, in another group of islands around Vanuatu, you'll see dolphins jumping around in the water, following the boats that we need to travel in between the islands. And I've got another souvenir. I have to be very careful because it's quite fragile. And it's a boat. And because there are lots and lots of islands, not every island has a school. And some of the islands are quite close to each other. And some of the children actually will use a canoe like this and paddle to get to school. Can you imagine that? If you had to paddle to go to school, quite good fun, you might think. But some of the islands are miles and miles apart from each other, and it's a story about some islands that are miles and miles apart that I'd like to tell you about. One of the gentlemen that I met over there, he's part of what is called the Brotherhood, the Melanesian Brotherhood. They're a religious community of people who live together, and they go out and they help people in the villages, and they go around the islands, and they also teach people about Jesus. And this one gentleman, he was called Michael, was telling me about an experience that he had, or something that happened to him. He and so Michael and 3 other of his colleagues, his friends, were going to go to a distant island to go and help in their community, but also to tell them help them with their stories about Jesus, to help in their with their little school and all those sorts of things. They got into a boat. Now, it was a bigger boat than this, but it wasn't a very big boat. It would have been quite possibly a similar shape to this, but bigger, and it would have had a motor. They knew that it was going to take them many hours to get from the island that they were on to this smaller island where they were going. Well, they hadn't been going very, very, very long. They'd been going a few hours in their boat. So the 4 of them are there in the boat, Michael with his 3 colleagues, his 3 friends that were helping him, when the motor just cut out completely and they just couldn't get it to start. And then they noticed that the boat itself was filling up with water. They were getting really panicky because they couldn't see any land at all, no land at all. Eventually, the boat disappeared under the water. It sank, and the 4 men were left in the water swimming, and they decided that what they should do was that they should swim in the direction that they were going and hope to reach the island they were going, or if not, another island that might have been nearer. So there was a problem. Michael couldn't swim. He had lived on one of the bigger islands, and he'd lived up in the hills, and he'd never learnt to swim. So here he is in the water splashing about, and the other three, his three colleagues, come around him and they say, come on, you're going to have to swim. And he said, but I can't swim. Come on, have courage, have faith. God's going to help us. He's going to be a support to us. So they said to Michael, just paddle around, just use your arms, and we're going to start swimming. So off they set. Michael, I'm not sure whether he did doggy paddle or whatever stroke he did, but he managed to keep himself afloat and he managed to swim. They were swimming for a long, long time. They swam for nearly a day. Would you believe that? When he told me the story, I thought, this is ridiculous. How could you swim for a day? But what they did, and they were very strong men, I have to say, about every hour they stopped. They came together, they held each other tight, and they said their prayers. And they prayed and they said, we know that we're going to be able to make this. We're going to come together, we're going to say our prayers. We have faith that this will get to safety. So they carried on. As I said, they were swimming for, they weren't exactly sure of it, how long, but about a day. So it got dark, it got light, and they eventually spotted land. And they swam towards the beach. Unfortunately, there was somebody standing on the beach who had been collecting water from a stream, and this lady came up and she gave them water, and then they came inland and they were saved. But what I found remarkable was that their story about how every hour they came together, even though they were swimming different speeds, but they came together, they held each other's hands, obviously treading water, and they prayed to God, and they prayed that they would be saved. And they were. And I've always found, when I first heard that story from Michael, I thought, is it really true? But it has been verified, we say. It has been, other people have heard the story and believed that it was true, because they had faith that God would help them, and they really believed that God would be there with them, helping them swim along. It's what we call a modern day miracle. And of course, Jesus taught us lots and told us about lots of miracles. He did miraculous things. And he believed that if we have faith and trust in God, God will help us when we need it. So our prayers aren't wasted. Sometimes they're not answered in the way that we think they might be answered. But they are answered. And those people, Michael and his friends, were answered. And every time I look at my little boat, I think of the faith of Michael and his friends, not paddling along like this, but they would have also seen in their travels lots of dolphins like this. But the boat reminds me of their faith that carried them over the waters back to land and to safety. And they thanked God for that. And we must thank God for all that he gives to us, mustn't we? The love that he shares with us, all that we see around us, the beauty that we see around us. So we have lots to be thankful for as we journey on, but we must remember also to have faith that God is always with us. And I'm sure he's with you every day. I know he's with you every day, and he's looking after you as he looks after me, and he looked after Michael and his friends. Great to share with you. Perhaps another time I'll tell you some more stories from these islands, because there are some very interesting ones. And when we can meet up with each other, then we'll have a little bit more, another look at some of these beautiful things that I've brought back. Good to talk to you today, and I hope very soon that we're all going to be able to meet up. Bye.